XDefiant is the latest in the almost decade-old trend of trying to cash in on Call of Duty's success, and the latest in the long line of free-to-play games that may or may not die, which I'm hoping it doesn't. XDefiant was shown off almost 2 years ago. Back when the game was shown off, it got a lot of flack for being generic, uninspired, and for its really weird punk rock aesthetic.
It's fast-paced firefights meets punk rock mosh pit.
And also because Ubisoft kept dragging Tom Clancy's name into literally anything and everything, even when it didn't fit. Like, first off, this guy is dead. He passed away, for those of you that don't know. But also, he wrote books that were all about grounded war and espionage stories, not whatever the hell XDefiant is. Like, at least respect the guy enough to not include his name in stuff that has nothing to do with him. The one thing that seemed to be a light in the darkness was Marky here, a former executive producer of Call of Duty till 2015. On top of that, there were also just a lot of former Call of Duty devs working on this game, and while it showed through the gameplay and it looked pretty okay, there was just not much here to make people all that interested, and what was a turnoff. Then the game would just disappear for most of 2022, but slowly we would get glimpses of what was going on behind the scenes, and it started to get me and a few others interested. For starters, they dropped the Tom Clancy name and the ugly punk rock aesthetic, and then God just decides to bless us with the best news of all. Like, get ready for this, guys, alright? You guys ready? I would suggest sitting down if you haven't, because well, that's just weird for one. Like, who do you think you are, huh? This is some kind of big man or woman using a standing desk? Like, what are you, some kind of nerd? The best possible news to come from this game was no SBMM. This right here, this was the moment that I genuinely became semi-hyped for this game. Not only was it awesome because this shows that these people seem to be listening to player feedback overall, but also after years of complaining about SBMM, having a dev that finally removed it outside of ranked play is awesome. It's like the Ubisoft gods heard our complaints and they came down and gifted us a golden shower. A golden shower of no SBMM. A golden shower is crazy. If you know what a golden shower is, you don't know why I'm laughing. Yeah, I don't know why I said that, but we're gonna keep that in. We're gonna keep that one in, and we're just gonna keep rolling. Anyway, fast forward to now, and XDefiant's closed beta releases, and it's actually not that bad. XDefiant reminds me a lot of like early 2010s Call of Duty if you mixed it with Dirty Bomb. I bet you thought I'd say Overwatch, huh? No, we're going to be unique on this show. The developers hit the old school Call of Duty feel right on the money. All the guns feel great and satisfying to use. They don't have really insane recoil patterns, Modern Warfare 2, but there's enough there so they're not lasers. Assault rifles and marksman rifles are really good at mid to long range. SMGs and shotguns are really good at close range, and snipers are, well, they're snipers, so I think that's self-explanatory. Also, I was surprised by the amount of guns there were in the game. Now, obviously, I couldn't access all of them because it's a closed beta, but still, there's a pretty good amount of guns. There's 24 weapons in the game, each having their own set of attachments. The guns also have mastery skins, which gives me a bit of Modern Warfare 2 PTSD, so, you know, that's good. Not that mastery skins are bad, but, like, you know, when that game dropped, everyone was going after skins in preparation for Warzone. And at this point, Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer is just the skin grind simulator for Warzone 2.0, but you know, XDefiant obviously doesn't have that.
Locating the next hard point. Be advised, UAV is exiting the AO. I'm reloading. Multiple movers.
Movement is also closer to classic Call of Duty. You don't have crazy crackhead movement, but it's not too slow paced that you have players camping 24/7. But if you do want a free-to-play Call of Duty game that does have crackhead movement, you could just play this game. It just launched on Steam. Apparently it's a mobile port, so I mean, listen, I like movement shooters, right? Titanfall's like one of my favorite games, and I love movement in Apex too, even though I suck at it. But Call of Duty movement just looks so corny. And the fact that I was able to kind of replicate it in some mobile ripoff Call of Duty game is just the funniest thing to me. Anyways, the maps in this game are unironically better than some of the stuff I've seen come out of Call of Duty in years. I don't dislike a single map, which is insane because one of my first criticisms in pretty much any multiplayer game are the maps. Like, honestly, they're all pretty solid. The maps are all your classic 3-lane design with enough routes to give players some flexibility to get around and flank. And they're all really unique too, because each map is based off of a location from another Ubisoft game. Like, for example, we have Times Square, New York from The Division and, you know, real life. Or you have a map based on the 3rd Echelon headquarters from Splinter Cell. If they keep going with this idea, it'd be really cool to see a map themed around Hyperscape or For Honor or Assassin's Creed. Like, even if they don't have factions that represent these games, it would still be cool to see something in here that references those games. Or in Hyperscape's place, just, you know, pays an homage to it. You know, speaking of 3rd Echelon, what would be really cool is if Ubisoft finally just made a new Splinter Cell game instead of putting it in every other game. Like, this is super unrelated to the actual video, but oh my god, the amount of trolling Ubisoft does with Splinter Cell is actually insane. Ever since the series itself disappeared, Sam Fisher or Splinter Cell related stuff has been featured in Ghost Recon Wildlands, Breakpoint, Rainbow Six Siege, some really shitty mobile game, XDefiant, and literally as of writing this, The Division 2 gets a trailer for a free-to-play roguelite mode, and one of the scenes in the trailer is a not-so-subtle reference to Splinter Cell. Like, Ubisoft, can you just make a new Splinter Cell game? Oh my god. Stop the teasing, please. Like, I just want to sneak around again. Ghost Recon Breakpoint doesn't do it for me, and playing as Sam Fisher in Rainbow Six Siege just isn't the same. And yes, before anyone says anything, I know Splinter Cell 1 is getting a remake, but still. Anyways, back to XDefiant. You have your usual modes like Domination, Zone Control, which is sort of like Rush if you're familiar with Battlefield, Occupy, which is basically King of the Hill, and Escort, which is just Payload. They all play fine, you know, they're your usual tried and true modes that are in most FPS games nowadays. It'd be hard to mess them up at this point. Escort and Zone Control are definitely the best modes in my opinion. They're very team-oriented, even more so than Domination and Occupy, which, let's be honest, most people play Domination or King of the Hill. You have 90% of the lobby playing TDM and then 10% actually playing the objective. It also feels like the usage of your character abilities and ultras matter way more in these modes, especially Escort. And I kinda hope we get more modes like this, where there's heavier focus placed on how the team performs as a whole rather than individual performance. I mean, there's nothing wrong with team deathmatch and modes like it, but I think for me at this point, I enjoy game modes where I have an objective to go after rather than just running around and shooting each other for a few minutes. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I think the only game that I can play TDM for hours in is Halo. Cause like, most of the fun in Halo comes from how the gunfights play out, and the sandbox itself. Now, where the game gets really interesting and differs from Call of Duty are the factions. They're all pulled from other Ubisoft games. You have The Division's Cleaners, Ghost Recon's Phantoms, Far Cry 6's Libertad, Splinter Cell's 3rd Echelon, which makes zero sense. Like, if I remember correctly, 3rd Echelon doesn't even exist in current Splinter Cell lore. Like, it was literally shut down and later replaced by 4th Echelon. Like, how does Ubi forget that? It's their own series. Whatever. Anyways, last but not least, we have DedSec from Watch Dogs. The factions each have their own unique role. Like, for example, the Libertad are the supports, and so they come equipped with gadgets designed to heal themselves and or their teammates. During a match, each faction has the choice between 2 gadgets, one faction-specific ultra, which are the ults in this game, and each faction has their own specific passive ability. For instance, the Phantoms get to choose between a drop wall style shield or a regular riot shield that I only saw 2 players use in my time playing. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in my personal opinion, a one-way energy shield that blocks incoming damage while letting me shoot through it sounds infinitely better than running around with a riot shield, but that's just me. But on top of all of that, the Phantoms get 20 more health points as a passive, which you would think would throw off the TTK, but honestly, you barely notice when fighting a phantom player. And that probably has to do with the fact that this game's TTK is an instant, like in modern Call of Duty, where if someone looks at you for a millisecond, you're dead, which is something I've always hated about Infinity Ward's Call of Duty games. Like, unless you're a tactical shooter, there is really no reason for your TTK to be this fast, like honestly. I guess that's why I like games with slightly longer TTKs like Battlefield, Halo, Apex, the Black Ops series of Call of Duty games. Though I gotta admit, Modern Warfare 2019 is awesome. Like, it's so good that it makes me come. I think so far my favorite faction to play as is Third Echelon because well, they get to turn invisible and their ultimate lets them see through walls and also gives them Sam's 5/7, which instantly kills anyone you shoot at. Also, they're my favorite faction mainly because I'm a Splinter Cell fanboy, so you know. Something I'm glad they didn't do was make you lock in the faction you were gonna play before you start the match. Unlike in games like Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4, where if you choose a character, you're locked to that character until the match ends. Here, along with being able to change your loadout throughout the match, you can also change the faction you play as and the gadget you use. Now, I don't know if they're gonna make you lock in during ranked, but I like it the way it is now in casual, as it makes matches feel a bit more dynamic since you and your team can switch factions on the fly if you need to change up your strategy a bit. And it's just nice being able to switch factions and experiment, especially if you pick a faction at the start of the match and later on decide that their kit isn't really working for you. Also, I don't know where to throw this in, so I'll just say it here. I really have to give it to these guys for making a legit lobby system that allows the players to vote for what map they want to play on. Like, I know it's nothing crazy, but at this point, it just seems like such a lost art form in video games. Halo. I think this game has a lot of potential to keep a sizable player base, especially with all the people getting fed up with how Call of Duty is being handled. But that really comes down to how frequently Ubisoft decides to update the game, which nowadays seems to be an impossible task for a lot of AAA studios for some reason. But you know what? I have high hopes for Ubisoft. They at the very least update Siege frequently. Then again, they also let Hyperscape die, which was another game that had a lot of potential. The thing with XDefiant is that it's trying to be a Call of Duty styled game. Call of Duty is a very simplistic game mechanically. Nowadays, those mechanics on their own don't keep people's interest for a long time. The reason Call of Duty is as popular as it is not only because of its simplistic gameplay, but it's also everything that surrounds that gameplay. Those being Warzone, the campaign, the wide variety of guns, the customization, the constant addition of new modes, maps, guns, skins, entirely new mechanics. That's what keeps people interested in Call of Duty. The instant Call of Duty starts to slack on any of those aspects, you see people on social media saying the game is dying, saying that the game's not fun anymore, and you're seeing it with Modern Warfare 2 right now. The point I'm trying to make with this is that XDefiant is going to have to bring their A game when it comes to adding in new maps, factions, gadgets, guns, and most importantly, new modes. Especially because mechanically, it does play like an early 2010s Call of Duty game, which is a lot simpler than even modern Call of Duty. And that on its own isn't a bad thing, but when you're in a part of the industry that is as competitive as multiplayer free-to-play FPS games is, you're gonna have to do a lot of work to remain relevant. Either way, I sorely want this game to succeed, because if it does, it'll be the competitor Call of Duty needs in order to push them into actually improving their game. That and no SBMM outside of rank might become a thing again if it's received well in XDefiant. And even if this game doesn't go big, I'll still be playing, because I mean, I have 1,000 hours in Halo Infinite and MCC, so I'd kind of be a hypocrite for dropping this game because some nerd online starts saying, "Why are you playing XDefiant? It's a dead game." That, and I just really miss the early to mid 2010 style of arcade shooter. They're nice to play whenever you have some free time and just want to chill with friends, instead of how it is now where every game is hyper competitive. But it's too early to tell whether XDefiant will continue to live on or will get shut down early like Hyperscape. Well, guys, the video is over. You can leave now if you want. You know, you're not being held a hostage. Actually, before you leave, though, can you like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video? And if you got to play the beta, what did you think about the game? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you go into it not expecting to like it and ended up actually enjoying the game? Tell me what you guys thought. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time when I get the fuck out of the bathroom, because I am about to piss myself. Alright, peace.